For those who have just joined in, I have Phil Camden here, who's my father-in-law, but also a legend about the place, and especially in over the last, I'm guessing, 40 years in the Australian Christian Churches movement, pioneering churches and pastoring multi-site churches. But in 2013, Phil was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and given, tell me, I'm pretty sure I got this right, but 2.7 years, wasn't it, or 2.5 years to live, and at that stage, the
Yeah.
doctors thought you had already lived a year. And so that was in January 2013, and 7 years later, you are still going strong.
Yep, absolutely.
That's good. Hey, one thing I was thinking with, because this is a bit of a varied audience that we have here today, I was thinking about family life and how you do family and how I've seen it from firsthand. But what does it look like for you as going through being a young family when the girls were just born to seeing them grow up? How did you prioritize your you being a dad and a husband, as well as being super involved with church, and also seeing them go strong in their faith and walk as well?
Yeah, I think it's about, again, what I said before. It's about where do they fit in the priority of things and in their priority with God. And I don't separate them. I don't put God and work and family in different pole. I think they all need to gel together. And when when I was studying at Bible college, for instance, I'd study at Bible college, and Rebecca, who was just born and growing up, so she was 3 years old by the time we left Bible college. She knew that there were times where Dad was available, and there were times when he wasn't available, and yet they were always a priority in my life. And so I think it's about discipline. I think it's about understanding the call of God on your life is inclusive of your wife and your children. It's not separate to them. It's all inclusive. God wouldn't call me and not call Honora and the girls into the ministry as well. And so the grace for ministry, the grace for leadership, the grace for church rested on them as well. And you have to trust that grace. You have to trust it. But in saying that, making, really strong principled guidelines in terms of your day off, and, when you're available, when you're not available, and all of those type of things, I think was important. And then by just being a role model, just being, it's just being the best Christian as a dad. The best Christian you can be as a dad, I think, flows down to all of those relationships. And if you're in your personal relationship with Jesus trying to become more Christ-like, then you'll become a better husband, a better dad, and you'll be aware of the needs of people around you, including your family, and the church. So I think it's all about that, becoming as much as you can more like Christ every day.
Yeah, that's great, mate. That's great. And I'm very conscious of there's young dads, and me being one of them. And any advice for us as young dads on how to really navigate that season well and do it well, prioritizing family and faith and the like?
Yeah, I think when you're with them, be present. When I went home to the girls, nothing else mattered but the girls. I'd roll around on the floor. We'd do David and Goliath, and all of those we'd reenact Bible stories, and so when I was home, I was home. I wasn't physically there, but mentally absent from that. Well, to the best of my ability. I think there were times where my girls had to grab my face and say, "Hey, Dad, we're talking to you, focus. But to the best of your ability, I think you need to live present when you're there. Like, make the most of that time that you're with them and give them your full attention, and be their dad and be with them in
Yeah.
that environment.
Yeah, the old mobile phone is a challenge in that way, in that respect. I was here the other night and I was doing something on my phone and Maya came out and she wasn't getting my attention, so she brought out a little toy phone and we started playing on her toy phone. I'm like, oh no, I felt convicted, threw the phone away and started playing with it.
She's probably trying to FaceTime you. The only way I can
Yeah,
get your
that's right.
faces.
Yeah, I know. I felt
But no,
convicted on
it
that
is a
one.
challenge, and I think it
Mm.
is a challenge with all the disruptions that we do have in life, you know. And I think it is a great place to get if you can find yourself present, or just really be aware of the environment around you, and be present with people at that time,
Mm.
because it's not fair. People, I always think of it like this. If you're at the bank and you're lining up and waiting to be served, and you're like fifth in line, but the teller keeps getting phone calls from people who aren't present in
Mm.
the room. Those people making the phone calls are interrupting and becoming more important than the people in the room. And it's the same with our mobile phones. It's the same with emails and texts and all of those things. We can't allow those interruptions to become more important than the time spent with people who are physically in our world and present.
Yeah, great, great. Hey, just along those